So I thought about something a little bit interesting. I really don't have much of a signature scent. Like, there are a lot of fragrances that are signature scent worthy, but a very common question and answer I get and give is, Neeb, what's your signature scent? Or do you have a signature scent? And the simple answer is no. I wear new fragrances every single day. I have so many fragrances that I haven't even jumped into yet, and I do little mini short reviews on an almost daily basis. It's my second post of the day. I'm found on all of my short platforms like Instagram, TikTok, even here on YouTube Short. If you're interested in that, find me on those platforms. But for today, we're gonna be starting a new series, Fragrances I Wore. The series is gonna be about fragrances I wore this week, and they're almost always new fragrances. A great way to get into mini first impression reviews all in 1 week. Let's talk about it.
Here's some codes to save you some cash on your next Middle Eastern, niche, or designer fragrances.
What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. Today we're going to be doing something or starting something a little bit new, and I'm actually going to ask for your help. Some suggestions of what we should call this series. We should call this series. Now, I know a lot of other creators have this series of what I wore this week. I'm not starting anything brand new per se, but every single day I am wearing something brand new, almost every day. And it's going to be a good way to keep track of what I'm wearing, also give you guys a little bit of insight before the full review, whether or not it's going to be a full review, etc. I think it has a lot of value. So let's try and find this name together. I was thinking what I wore this week, or, I kind of want to go against the grain and find something a little bit more interesting, but nevertheless, it's going to be fun regardless. A lot of fragrances that, I determine whether or not are going to be full reviews, not going to be full reviews, end up on this list that I've never really made these. And it's a good way to get an idea of which ones are not going to be mentioned, are not going to be reviewed, without absolutely trashing the DNA, obviously. I respect a lot of people's taste, but it's a good way to get an idea of fragrances that didn't make the cut or did make the cut in just a little bit more detail. I didn't really make a full review on Lemensity, so you'll be able to tell whether or not I like it and the actual details in regards to that. If it's something that's still worth it, you're still going to see a full review, because these lists, to save some time, it's not going to be as extensive as some of them might deserve, or vice versa. I'm pretty excited for this series, and I hope you are too. And if you are, make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button. For the most part, this is going to be a list with an overload of new fragrance. And if you're in this passion or hobby and you're tired of seeing the same fragrances, you want to see new, but you also want to see new that's credible, that's quality. There's plenty of new brands on the market today with a lot of fragrances from a lot of the same houses, popular houses and unpopular houses that deserve to be popular. Also, while maintaining a certain standard to the fragrances, we're not going to just talk about any average Joe. If it's not quality products, I'm not even going to bother wear it, let alone talk about it. So we only talk about quality stuff that have either purpose, have value, have etc. A lot of well-known brands and a lot of new ones that deserve light. And we're going to talk about it, and we'll even talk about the ones that don't deserve light if I do end up wearing them. But a lot of, you'd be surprised how many I don't even bother to talk about them, but there are some that we might talk about. Basically, these lists are going to have a plethora of different fragrances, niche, designer, cheapies, heard of, unheard of, and the goal is always new fragrances. So yeah, maybe you'll see me wear YSL by Eau de Parfum once in a week, but almost every single week you'll see something new. So buckle in, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and let's go ahead and get started with the wears of this week. So this list is going to be the first, so I didn't really have a starting point to go off of. I just thought about the 10 most recent, or just the fragrances most recent that were significant enough for me to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started, and from here on out, there'll be a lot more organized, and it'll be anywhere from 7, maybe less, and anywhere from 5 to 10 fragrances per week, depending on the performance, etc. So let's go ahead and get started with one of the fragrances that I wore, and I probably haven't even talked about it yet. You might have seen me talk about this in a short, but that's about it. And it is coming to a full review, but I'm waiting on another fragrance to come in the mail to be able to do some comparisons and side by side. This is a great way to hear about this fragrance as well prior to making that video. It's called Arabian Ouds Titanium. Arabian Ouds Titanium is this fresh, woody fragrance with a little bit of a sweet undertone to it. It's got rosemary or some kind of mint, rather, but aromatic, fresh, aquatic fragrance. It really reminds me of Acqua di Gio Absolute. For now, I did buy the bottle, and I'm waiting on it to come in from Joma Shop. I'll put links down in the description where you can find this and everything else at the cheapest prices, okay? So I just have to confirm it. The thing with Absolute is it's truly my favorite DNA, but on my skin it goes a little bit salty. I love it. It's got the perfect, I don't know what it is, but it just reminds me of like a gummy bear undertone with the aquatic woody nature of the fragrance. I know, Neeb, you're always talking about gummy bears. I fucking love gummy bears, I guess. I don't really eat them like that, but it is what it is. So slightly gummy, sweet nature fragrance with the whole aquatic Acqua di Gio vibe. Absolutely one of the better ones in my opinion. Just just not on my skin, unfortunately. On clothing, it's phenomenal, okay? This one, however, I sprayed it on skin, sprayed it everywhere, and it's not even there. There is no salty nature to the fragrance. Whatever fixative or whatever chemical is doing that, it's not in this one right here, and so I like it more. Performance on this, so far, it's pretty good. It's really good, actually. On my hat, it lasted to the next freaking day, and on skin, it was like 7 to 8 hours. Not bad. I did go heavy on the trigger with this one, so you might have to do the same. So there you have it, a little mini review. There's some value there too as well, but it's not going to be as definitive as that full review. So stay tuned for that full review. We will be talking about this one and comparing it side by side with the now discontinued DAIQUIRI Joe Absolute. It is still available on some discounters, but who knows how long it'll go for. Next one worth talking about is this one right here. It's called Azur Royal by Ahmed Al Maghribi. So this is an interesting fragrance, very uplifting, white florals. It reminds me of other fragrances like Musk Therapy, but a little bit more than that. It has an aquatic nature to it as well, but not definitively aquatic nor white floral. The white floral is there, and it's absolutely there in a heavy concentration. Specifically going to be like Hedione, okay? It smells like cherry blossoms, smells like fatty, fluffy, but also relatively transparent and aquatic. I would say that this is unisex. This is like Megamare meets Musk Therapy, a beautiful fragrance. So this is one that you could potentially go nose blind to, but I sprayed this on about 8 times. I got compliments all freaking day. Projection, they told me it filled the entire room. I don't even know, man, but I sprayed the hell out of it. Smells amazing, and I got a compliment from my barber. I got a compliment from the, I went to the Middle Eastern niche shop, and the man sprayed this on. He's got a whole niche shop. So yeah, absolutely niche quality stuff. It's called Azur Royal by Ahmed Al Maghribi. Phenomenal stuff. Performance, it's kind of between like the whole 7-8 hour mark, but I got compliments all freaking day. At least as far as like the way that I'm judging or scaling that performance is going in for a sniff and being able to sniff it, okay? So that's that. I wish I could emphasize a little bit more, but it's a little bit unclear until we get to the full review for that fragrance, which I might have to wear it again. But for, I would say it's a second impression or third impression, solid ass fragrance, especially for the summertime. Natural smelling too. Next fragrance is one that blew me away truly. It's I don't even know if I want to call it cheapy. It's a middle price range. It's about $60, but you can find this on Aroma Concepts, code AROMATIX. It's about 52 bucks. For that price, you're literally getting that and some for the price, okay? It's an extrait de parfum and it lasts all freaking day. Well, first, before this fragrance, honestly, Afternoon Swim doesn't last for shit. I wish it was a longer lasting fragrance because I absolutely love it, but unfortunately it just doesn't last. This one still recreates that natural orange sangria style fragrance while performing all day. You could smell the orange zinginess, the natural quality of it all freaking day, and that is not common for freshy fragrances, genuinely. And usually we're talking about freshy fragrances that are like 3 times the price. They don't even last as long as this. So for 55 bucks, it's still absolutely worth it. Yes, banger ass fragrance for the summertime. Orange zest, that's the one to go with. Summertime vibes all day. I'm buying another bottle so I can be able to take it with me on vacation. An Afternoon Swim, honestly, like I love the DNA. Do I want to sell it? Not really, because it's still like a piece that I respect and love. Next one on this list is another one from Oud Elite. I've been rocking a lot of their fragrances, and you'll see this rack, which is dedicated to them, start to slowly fill up. I've got a few that I still need to unbox in the very near future, and we'll be talking about those soon. But this will give you a good little first insight on Oud Elite's Couture. A few familiar notes like saffron, rose, there's some amber, some musk, and I believe some cardamom in this fragrance. Don't quote me for it exactly. You'll have more details in that full review. However, this one reminds me of other fragrances because of that signature musk. In a lot of the Middle Eastern niche fragrance brands, they use this animalic natured musk, and that's common amongst a lot of the brands, I should say, like Qissa, Amiri, or Arabian Oud, and now even Oud Elite. So it creates like this cashmere, ambery musk style vibe or DNA. Relatively dry in nature with a little animalic bite to it, and it's that distinctive funk that creates the whole cashmere oud or cashmere musk style DNA. Dry, woody, slightly tinge of animalic. This one uses that very same tinge of animalic, that funk that's found in like a lot of fragrances like Amiri, Sultani, Diwan. It sounds like a broken record. I've been talking about that a lot actually, but it's the actual case. However, this one doesn't really go to the oud territory. It utilizes more so of like this bergamot, some rose. It does more of a floral, fresher nature of things, and it makes it a lighter scent profile, making it a more appropriate for signature scent wear. So yes, this is signature scent worthy. I wouldn't really say high heat because of its dry, woody nature, but it'll still do really good. This was an award-winning fragrance as well. I think it was in 2020, don't quote me for it, but a really good fragrance nevertheless. And the price point on this is really great. For under 150 bucks, you get a fragrance that lasts for a long time. The projection on this is enormous, but the total longevity for me personally, I think I went nose blind around 6-7 hour mark. I will say though, on clothing, you can absolutely smell it up until like 10 hours or maybe even the next day. You get that dry, woody, musky nature to the fragrance. This is Oud Elite's Couture. Worth the price tag for sure. If you don't have any one of those DNAs like Amiri, Amiri, Sultani Diwan, etc., and you want to get into one of the safest ones, that's what I would call this. This is the safest one. It's called Couture, and it's the most affordable one. Like always, check the description. Next fragrance on this list is one that I wore during a hotter day, and I absolutely love this fragrance. And it's something in between. I don't know if I love it that much more or less or anything like that. Let's keep it out of there. But Vetiver Sensuel is a beautiful vetiver-based fragrance, much more than just vetiver though. And you'll start to really determine or distinguish some of the notes, I should say, amongst this fragrance with a plethora of like different accords. It's not just vetiver. When you first jump into vetiver-based fragrances, all you can really focus on is really the pungency and the intensity of that fresh, cut grass-like, very dry, but also sometimes juicy, depending on the other accords in the fragrance. This one is exactly like that. So when I initially wore it, I was only focused on the nature of the vetiver, but a couple more wears with this fragrance is where I started to really realize that this is juicy. It's also fresh. It's got some florals. It's lifted, beautiful. The projection is really nice, polished. It's soft. So there's a lot of aspects to this one, and truly is one of my favorite vetiver-based fragrances. I love Terre d'Hermès, but I think almost always I'd rather go for Vetiver Sensuel. Now with Eau Intense Vetiver, and then we've got the Guerlain, those are a little bit different, but if you're looking for something more warm weather appropriate, Vetiver Sensuel is a sleeper fragrance. If you like green freshies, this is a great one, and the longevity on that is really good, really good. It smells like money, honestly. It's one of those freshies as well. Next fragrance on this list I want to talk to you guys about is this right here. It's Ignite Oud. My cousin came from DC, and for the first time I wanted to spray somebody else with it and see how it performs. And I told him, I was like, watch, these 3 sprays, we're gonna smell you the entire day. I don't even remember what fragrance I was rocking, because anytime this guy was around me, all I could smell was Ignite Oud. So I practically wore it my damn self. This is enormous projection, performance. I freaking love this stuff. It's more of a twist on like Oud Marcuja style DNA, but I genuinely like it more. I like it more. Oud Marcuja has more of this dry scent profile. It doesn't really necessarily have the more mass appealing. I'm not saying it's a mass appealing fragrance, but a more mass appealing, calmer and creamier leather accord to this one, Ignite Oud. Oud Marcuja is still a great one. It's still a really great one, but it's much more drier and inky in nature. Next one that I decided to rock this week was called Al Farid by Al Arabi Al Oud. Another full review is in the works. If it's not already done, I believe I already created the full review for this fragrance, but a beautiful bottle nevertheless. This is another one of those fragrances which does have a very distinctive use of the funk. It's got other notes rather than your typical pink or saffron rose oud combination. It utilizes a few different notes to recreate a similar accord. So rather than saffron, it uses pink pepper. It's got some ambergris in here, and it does translate into a lighter scent profile with the DNA of this one. Lighter, a little bit more polished, more posh as well. Rather than utilizing any vanillas, etc., it has a more of a lifted, slightly fresher and easier scent profile, but it does still have that animalic bite coming from that similar funk of the musk. And also this one uses a note of oud. Whilst a lot of these other fragrances like Amiri, Sultani Diwan, etc., not all of them have the oud, this one actually has it there. But like I said, it also doesn't have that saffron, so you use pink pepper. It smells a little bit more high-end than those other ones as well. Also, the nature of the oud in here, it's not necessarily too animalic, and it does have a salty nature to it coming from that ambergris as well. The oud in here seems like a more brittle and dry, not relatively ambery. It's not something that's overly dense and dark. In totality, it seems like an easier to wear, lighter, drier, woody-based fragrance with that very similar cashmere musk, cashmere oud DNA. For those of you who haven't smelled something like that, think of ISO super dry, woody natured fragrances. It rests similar to those style fragrances with a lot more of that Middle Eastern funk coming from the amber, the musks, and also that oud note. A very polished and refined, highly praised fragrance from Arabian Oud, and rightfully so. It smells like $1 million. But once you start getting into those musk natured fragrances, like with a lot of them, you start to really get jumbled up and not know where to go. But I plan on making a more easier guide to help you guide yourself through those scent profiles that do a very similar nature. Of all of the ones that I have, I personally find a lot of differences in between a lot of them, but there are also similarities. If you're not one to really pinpoint out certain details and stuff, you will find also that they're going to be very similar as well. Next one on this weekly wear that was worth remembering is this right here, okay? This is called Café Mystique by Maxim Perfume. It's around 220 bucks for this little vial, but these are extraits, and I kid you not, 3 sprays of this is all you need. Absolutely intoxicating scent profile. I want to save the details for the full review, but it reminds me, well, it has Turkish coffee, it has Thailandi oud, it has a plethora of high quality ingredients, borderline essential oil style quality. The man himself literally pours the freaking juice into this, and the color of this is unreal. Will absolutely stain clothing, but for a very good reason, because of natural stuff. The bottle in itself, very adequate. I mean, it's very nice. I personally would would appreciate a little bit of a bigger style bottle, but the quality in this stuff is nothing less than A1. I've put my nose to a lot of oud growing up. I've got actual natural, straight from the tree sap, whatever, oud, Cambodi, Hindi, Thailandi, and this is phenomenal stuff. It's coffee, it's ambery, it's got a little bit of this sweetness, I believe it's honey, and all finesse with the beautiful use of some animalic oud. Fire. This slows me down, legit. Love that stuff, okay? Last but not least is everybody's favorite, Lemensity. Absolutely the easiest signature scent worthy fragrance from Louis Vuitton. I got a 200 ml because it's truly that good. It's familiar. It does smell familiar. Reminds me of a lot of mass appealing fragrances. Allure Homme Sport. It reminds me of YSL L'Homme. Reminds me of a lot of other signature men's fragrances. Musky, fresh, zingy. As it dries down, it loses a lot of that zingy nature and just retains this musky nature. Very similar to Allure Homme Sport, actually. The dry down of this one reminds me of that for me personally. But the one thing that was absolutely insane about this is I sprayed it on. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's good performance. I got about 7 hours out of this. The next day, I'm meal prepping. I'm freaking meal prepping, and there's fumes everywhere, and I can smell everything. Every time I go towards my living room, I smell just this musky, generic, I will say generic because it does smell generic, but this generic, fresh scent profile. I'm like, where the is that coming from? It's really strong. And I continuously get wafts of it, and I look at my hat, which is legitimately 6 feet away from me, sitting on my dining table, and it's coming from that. I sprayed this on my hat, and I could smell it in the entire kitchen while meal prepping, which I think is absolutely insane. And that in itself makes this one, I mean, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about, man. Performance absolutely makes a difference and makes a fragrance either A, worth it or not. Look at Afternoon Swim. It's not worth it. Why? It smells great. Well, you should still buy it for 500 bucks. No way in hell. I'm not gonna tell you don't buy it for 500 bucks. It doesn't freaking perform. Would you? Come on, man. How can people tell you in their right mind or with a straight face that you should buy it and it doesn't perform? No way in hell. Afternoon Swim, not worth the money, but Lemensity, yeah, absolutely worth the money. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. These are the most memorable fragrances that I wore in the last, I would say, week and a half or so. Get used to seeing these lists. I think this is an interesting, fun, and a very great way to get real-time updates on a lot of these fragrances. Don't forget to drop some suggestions. I want to get you guys involved. I love you guys. All of this is only possible because of you guys. And yeah, I want to, yeah, help me. No, I'm just playing. I'm good. These are really good though. But looking forward to also jumping into this right here. Let's talk about it another time. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and until the next one, peace.